A national wave of criticism lands in Rockford. Some in the community worry license plate readers invade personal privacy. They push for regulations as a $500,000 contract moves through city council.
Rockford police started using automatic license plate readers nearly a decade ago. But amid the Trump administration's immigration crackdown, some residents called for change. WIFR's Nathaniel Langley learns what's driving concern from locals and even the mayor.
Sydney Jake, Flock Safety works with thousands of communities across the U.S., but fears of mass surveillance lead a growing list of cities abandoning the tech company. Rockford's mayor, though, says he's following these developments, but some in the community want action.
I think the concept of a license plate reader is okay.
But Paul Foss feels there's a catch to automatic license plate readers.
But what I think people need to really make the distinction on is what constitutes their data.
Rockford uses about 160 of these cameras owned by Flock Safety. The tech captures and stores license plates for law enforcement databases.
We are concerned about an unchecked system.
City Council will consider renewing and expanding its Flock services in a nearly $500,000 contract.
There ought to be a clear public declaration of how the system is designed to be used.
If we need to make adjustments to it, that's what we do. I'm all for that.
Mayor Tom McNamara says the city owns collected data, deletes information after 30 days, and closes its Flock network.
We're not sharing that information. We are limiting the number of individuals who do have that access.
Rockford conducts monthly audits like this one from November 2025. Officers must include a reason for their search.
They've had pretty unequivocal assistance to our police department.
At least 30 communities deactivated or canceled contracts with Flock over concerns of data misuse since 2025. Foss hopes council members read through Flock's terms of service.
I want to be sure that they don't rush this through.
McNamara draws a red line if data falls into the wrong hands in the federal government.
If they want to misuse this information, for anyone who calls the city of Rockford home, I will be the first to pull this.
Flock responded to our request for comment by saying it's proud of its partnerships to help solve crime. The company added it does not have backdoor access for agencies like Border Patrol or Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
Council members will consider purchasing 27 more license plate readers from Flock Monday night.
City staff report their locations would focus on retail areas, especially in vulnerable neighborhoods.